Good morning, all. It's a wonderful opportunity to be here and to share a bit of our work that we're doing in Southern Africa with you. We are extremely grateful to Esri. We're part of the Esri Conservation Program and have been for 19 years, and without them, it wouldn't be possible to do the work that we're doing. We're responsible and accountable to the planet, we're accountable to donors, and we're accountable to decision makers. And what I'd like to share with you today is the story of Peace Parks Foundation and what it is that we've been doing. I'm sure you recognize at least one of these gentlemen up there. These are the three wise men that we like to call the three wise men. In the middle is Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands, and on the right-hand side is Dr. Anton Rupert. They had this audacious vision of creating landscapes and connecting protected areas across international boundaries. And that has grown into a global phenomenon. There are over 250 potential peace parks entailing 130 countries globally. Our focus has always been on 4 C's. The work that we do is first and primarily of a political nature. It is the political will and the commitment that there is from national governments to work together and to collaborate in establishing these transboundary conservation efforts. Most importantly is landscape level conservation, large tracts of land that maintain biodiversity and open up expansive networks for migration pathways that have been impeded by development and infrastructure over the course of years. Very importantly is something that we call the business of conservation, the economic upliftment and establishment of economies within conservation, and looking at other aspects other than just tourism as a spinner for economic benefits to conservation. And then last but not least, the 4th C is that of community development. Very importantly, within these tracts of landscapes, people live, reside, and make use of the land, and that cannot be done in isolation of what is being done from a conservation effort. The tale that I'd like to share a tale of 2 scales. We work on this landscape level, and the first of this scale I'd like to share with you is that of kind of a macro scale. In the heart of Southern Africa, within the Kalahari Basin, is the Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area, the red polygon in the middle of the map. This is an expansive landscape of 52 million hectares, entailing 5 countries, and it has been agreed to by 5 countries, where the presidents of those 5 countries have signed a treaty to establish this Transfrontier Conservation Area, or Peace Park, for community beneficiation and for expansive land, conservation landscape. Zooming into that area, we can see that it is expansive, entailing 20 national parks from those 5 countries, 3 World Heritage Sites, and in total over 800 protected areas carrying an IUCN status. It is also home to vast expansive wildlife dispersal areas, opening up the landscape for elephant migrations that have been impeded, as mentioned earlier, by development and veterinary cordon fences that have been developed over the years. On this macro scale, what we've done is we've made use of the full suite of Esri tools, story maps, web apps, online visualizations, remote sensing tools, to visualize and to measure what it is that's happening in this landscape. This model that has been done for Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area is to be replicated for all the Transfrontier Conservation Areas in Southern Africa, and later on globally, to offer measurable tools to support and to visualize and to share the progress that's being made to the decision makers and to the donors that are involved in these landscapes. The story maps allude to stories that offer very key measures to important monitoring and evaluation indicators, of which there are about 50. We look at animal translocation, where physical translocation take place of animals from one country to another, where endemic species are key within these biodiversity-rich landscapes. We visualize that, we offer information about that, and also look at how the progressive conservation efforts are maintaining the biodiversity and locking down those landscapes for protection. Also, very importantly, is the information that is shared openly with the public. These include a uni visa, where traditionally visiting these 5 countries could be quite problematic for Europeans and Americans visiting the area due to having to secure 5 different visas. A uni visa approach is being investigated, making it a lot more effective and easier for visitation. Again, the portal through the Calving Zambezi website is offering these metrics and these business intelligence tools, not only to the decision support, but also to the general public at large. So as we start zooming into a micro scale, the second tail and the scale that I'd like to share with is, moving down to a landscape level, to a protected area level, to a village level, where we work with communities based in these areas. The block in the middle of the Calving Zambezi there indicates Simalaha Community Conservancy. As we zoom into that, this is a secure landscape which is under the ownership of a community that has seen the value of biodiversity within this landscape and opening up a corridor for movement of animals from Chobe Game Reserve within Botswana up to Kufui National Park in Zambia, a very important migratory pathway. However, there are people that are living within this landscape, and this map shows clearly where the land use takes place. Traditional slash and burn conservation is taking place within this landscape. The foundation, together with our Zambian partners, have looked at conservation farming efforts to secure a finite, more limited use of the land where biodiversity is at key. So we're locking down impact on the habitat, but looking at conservation farming efforts to reduce that footprint, but dramatically increase the yields of those conservation farming efforts. So with this in mind, we recently launched an app which offers measurement, it offers training tools, it offers a means for these farmers to have access to information which they didn't previously have. And again, mentioning that it reduces the slash and burn efforts, and it gives them a means to actually start farming on a more consolidated landscape and parcel of land. So allow me to introduce you to one of our farmers. This is Belinda Nyambe, and we've been able to, through the efforts of this app, look at exactly where she's residing. We've addressed her with what 3 words. We're able to measure the impact that she's making on the farm in a precise manner of exactly how many plants it is that she's planted, what the yields are, how she engages with that farm in her efforts as she goes along, doing her daily tasks. The app allows for a bidirectional flow of information for her to share what it is that she's done progressively, and also for her to get back very important measurements and information such as weather forecasts, which were not previously made available to her or in her access. This was alluded to a little bit earlier. They're smart cities, and as a conservationist, we can't be left behind. So we have smart parks, and what we've done is we've leveraged on this GIS of things. We've leveraged on the connectivity that is important for a protected area's landscape. All of these elements on the right-hand side can be and are being integrated into an information system, a spatial information system, to allocate exactly where your resources are, your valuable resources are within that protected landscape, which comes back to your statistical and your spatial analyses and offering this information back to decision support. It is innovative, and it is driving towards the success of curbing the rhino and other key species poaching that is taking place within these landscapes. Jack shared this slide yesterday, and it's a wonderful effort which is underway by Esri and National Geographic, establishing a conservation intelligence platform for protected areas. A wonderful interface using various APIs to integrate to such things as camera traps, which are becoming more intelligent. Camera traps are able to distinguish between people and animals, and therefore reducing false alerts and allowing for interventions to take place more timelessly within the landscape. This is a wonderful opportunity to leverage off the full suite of Esri tools that there are, and to undertake your measurements from the field, undertake management, more effective spatial information management, and look at your predictive analytics going forward, and offering these back to protected area maintenance and so on. I'd like to close off with this slide, and it is that what we are doing as Peace Parks Foundation is that we have this, as I mentioned earlier, this audacious vision of creating vast tracts of biodiversity, but not in isolation of community development. We see this myriad of land use taking place where there's coexistence and where there's beneficiation for both conservation as well as community development within these landscapes that we are targeted. And we focused our efforts in Southern Africa, but working globally to initiate this Peace Parks phenomenon. I thank you for your time.